Welcome to this week's The Weekly from the Blue Room. It's Les hosting this week. Matt's not here, and Dave is joining me tonight. We were trying to think of things to talk about for this week. Obviously, we've done the weekend's game, so we won't really talk any more about that because I don't think there's
No,
anything left to say really.
that's on subs. If you want to listen to that, we had a good chat with Warren and Paul yesterday, so there's loads of that in there.
Yeah, and we did Blue Monday on it, and we did post match. Basically, I think I've done enough on it. I've done two things on it this week, so I don't want to talk about that game
Just sitting
anymore.
there fuming about it
Um,
for the last 4 days.
So we'll look ahead, for want of a better phrase, to the Man United game. I think we'll also look at towards the end. I think we'll look at your favourite saves from an Everton goalkeeper because the club put out a tweet today about Tim Howard's birthday. Don't want to send you down a Tim Howard rabbit hole, so think of any other keeper if you want, Dave. But to kick off, um, there's been a little bit of controversy about something that the club sent out this week. Um, I can't. I don't know if it was an email or what, but I haven't got anything. But I always seem to be the last to get anything off the club when people have said they've got things through like messages off the club or important information. I check my emails and can never find it. But this week they sent it out anyway. Farewell, Goodison. As you know, 2024-25 season is our last at Goodison Park. During your time as a season ticket member, you've been at the Grand Old Lady. Let's leave that phrase for some incredible moments, including, and one of the things they put out was the Palace game. And there was quite a bit of kicking off on Twitter about this, sort of saying, how can you say that's an incredible moment? I do get what people are saying there. And I think this did change on how long you've had your season ticket. So, I mean, if you'd had your season tickets under Walter Smith, could have been an incredible moment from the Walter Smith days, of which there were many,
Yeah,
obviously.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, what do you think on that, Dave? And I mean, I know it was sort of like there was a lot of kicking off about the club having pictures up of it on the wall of Finch Farm, which I agree with. It's not a cause for celebration. Um, but as far as incredible moments go, I'd say in the past few years, it has been one of the very few that we've had.
Mm. I don't know. I mean, I think the wording of it's difficult, Les, because the thing is, good job you're having a drink while we're doing this as well. Well, I'm sitting here with a nice coffee trying to talk calm. I think that there's hard to. I can understand each side of this. I'm not trying to sit in the middle, but I can understand why people, particularly younger fans, will think that that's a huge moment of history, and it is a
Yeah.
huge moment of history, and that's what when it's spoken of, I think you have to understand the context of it because Everton staying up that season, given everything, particularly now that's going on with the club and all sorts of nonsense and the shit that's going on, points, owners, all sorts of different numbers of fucking all sorts going on. When you think about that, you start thinking, well, for us to do that, to stay up, given how close it was that we were going to go down, have Arsenal the next week and whatnot, um, that that is a moment of history. And I can see why 2-0 down to go and win 3-2 to stay in the Premier League. I can see that's why. I mean, for instance, you maybe put it in a better way than you look at what happened in '98. You look what happened in '94. Those moments are never forgotten.
No.
Never ever forgotten. So yeah, I think I can understand why they've done it. I can understand how it's a how it's more historical than it is success and sort of something you'll remember the old lady for and that sort of thing. But um, it's never ever going to be forgotten. So it does feature in that sort of category. It just feels like they've worded it wrong, if you get what I mean.
Yeah, I know it's hard, isn't it? Because we're still kind of stuck in this sort of mindset, aren't we? That we shouldn't be celebrating stuff like that. But as you say, it was a big achievement, not something necessarily to be proud of, but to stay up then was a massive achievement,
Yeah,
to,
it was.
especially to come back against Palace. And yeah, I think for anyone who was there, you've got to say when that third went in, it was an incredible moment. The roof lifted off the place.
Yeah,
I think more so than um Decore's goal against Bournemouth, to be honest. But again, the two sort of last day escapes, as it were, felt very different, didn't he? So you talked about and we said this at the time. You talked about 98 and 94. They were both very different atmospheres at those games. Same for this one, these two as well, the last two. So I think I don't know about you, but I felt we just needed to get through this sort of relegation scrap, and we'd be sound then. We'd be all right. The club would be on the up again. Little did we know it would get progressively worse. But yeah, it does feel different. So I think that the Decore didn't feel as an incredible a moment to me as the Palace one. Do you get what I mean?
No, I completely get what you mean, because both games, let's face it, pre-match we were probably odds on to win both of those games. Bournemouth nothing left to play for, Palace nothing left to play for.
Yeah.
At Goodison, two sides that we should be beating. Obviously you can argue about that these days, but particularly what's happened in recent weeks with Palace games and stuff like that. But you think about those two matches, they should have been won. But also at the same time, you look at how difficult we were finding things that season and how crap we were.
Yeah.
That celebration of scoring that goal, and I remember us at work in Salford with the BBC, and I nearly got sacked for celebrating the way I did. And I think that when that happens, when you're in Goodison, when that sort of thing happens, the only thing that you really feel and want to discuss at the time is the euphoria that you've taken as a fan. So with that in mind, you can get why that they've put that at the top of a list of memories. Or how did they word it on what they sent, Les?
So it said, during your time as a season ticket member, you've been at the Grand Old Lady for some incredible moments, including ... And then I think the Palace video comes up for the third goal.
Yeah, you can't argue, and I'd love to get reviews of this. We always do. That has to be included in that sentence there. What you've just said, moments, moments, memories, something that you're never going to forget. Nobody's put in that line that it's success. So therefore, that qualifies them for what they've asked, really. So I'm probably saying I go on board with this. And going back to what you said about it, there's a lot of nostalgia that'll go with that too. You think about it, if you were to compare it with Gareth Fowley, if you were to compare it with Graham Stewart all those days ago, all those years ago, we continuously talk about that. We talk about it a hell of a lot more now, given the situation that we're in. That might well, I think, given the fact we were 2-0 down, Wimbledon as well, that fits in. That fits right in the middle of all of that, Les. So I'm willing to accept it. I understand why that's there. I can understand it thoroughly now.
Yeah, same. And it's all very subjective, isn't it? The incredible moments. So, obviously for a team that's not had any success, I think the enjoyment you get from going the game does come down to those odd moments, which will be winning a home game that you didn't expect to win. So I'd say Rooney's goal against Arsenal, incredible moments. Without
the other thing I'd throw in there is if you're including games that where you've just fought and you've managed to get back that just weren't expected. I think about that time when we drew 3-3 with Man United and we scored 2 goals in a minute. Yeah. When Cahill scores and Arteta scores,
we should have got a fourth, shouldn't we? But the referee blew off.
And you remember Steve Round and Moyes walking onto the pitch, absolutely fuming. Don't know what Steve Round was trying to do, though, just trying to act hard or something like that. The absolute muppet. But that you think back to those stick in your mind, those sorts of things. So I think this will be a difficult task for them, by the way, and it's something we're going to start doing in the summer, given the fact we've got a year to go, and we're going to be doing all sorts of content like that and nostalgia and stuff that with what's going on, and what we've done at Goodison over the years gone by. But to get the thumbs up for me for that, definitely.
I've just thought of another incredible moment as well. Pepe Reina trying to grab Andy Johnson's head instead of the ball in the 3-0 win.
Yeah. I don't even know. I'd thinking back to that 3-0, man. That's going to be in there, no doubt about that.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like that was comedy when he heads it in, and it's he probably tries to hold on to him, doesn't he?
Yeah.
After he grabs his head. It doesn't even make sense.
No.
That was what a day that was. I remember that day, right? You're talking about emotion. That day I couldn't go to the game because I'd just done my knee in, my ACL, had just been done in. been speaking to you all week about medical issues. Everyone who follows me on Twitter will know exactly what I mean by this, but it was in '07 or '06, I'm going to say, when we won that game. And when it happens, I was in Yates's in Bootle of all places, by the way. I was on crutches and all that, and I'm sitting there. And when that happened, I remember going ballistic. I ended up throwing one of the crutches away. It hit some lad, and it proper like kicked off in there. Do you know what I mean? But you think about those moments, you think about those times, and I remember what it did early on in the season. It was September time. It put us second or third before kickoff. It was an early kickoff as well, I remember. And you remember those days so vividly in your mind because it was a gorgeous day. It was really, really sunny.
Yeah, lovely.
I've never seen Goodison's pitch look that clear and clean. By the way, it looked like it was a snooker table.
Yeah.
When he gets past Carragher, scores that goal, it's like it felt. It was just after we got Johnson as well, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It felt like we've got a proper striker here who's going to go bang in 20, 30 goals. And lest we forget, Johnson was never, you'd never consider him or you'd never be known as a poor striker for us or a poor buy for us.
Yeah.
He sort of did run out of steam towards the end of it. When we first got him, it was like, Evan have just spent £7 million odd for the striker. We're in a proper side now. When we went and did that, it was the euphoria after that game just felt ridiculously good.
Yeah, it was amazing. And just to sort of do them like that, I think. What would you say? Putting you on the spot here. Can you think of your own incredible moments at Goodison? I mean, there'll be a lot, but as I said, because we've not won any cups for years and anything like that, it will just come down to it's not going to be. There's a few cup quarterfinals and that in there, but it probably will just come down to games that you've really enjoyed, or there's moments that, for personal reasons, you just loved. So one for me, my first ever derby was the one we won 2-0 when Mark Ward scored and Cotty scored right at the end, and Grobbelaar and McManaman had a fight. That Mark Ward goal probably won't be that special to a lot of people, but that was my first ever derby goal. It was at the street end. I was right there, and it was unreal. It was just like the feeling of that. And then when Cotty scored the second to seal the game, it was unreal. It was such a good feeling. So that would be an incredible moment for me, I think. Yeah,
I completely agree with that. And yeah, you think of the Joe Royal's first game when Ferguson scores that goal, and you never forget what he looked like and what we thought we had. And I think that you could do about 10 different podcasts talking about your feelings towards Big Dun, because obviously some people adore him. Me personally, I'm not at that level, what I'd say, but me and you could argue about that all night. But I'm thinking just along the derby sort of memory, the Carsley one against them.
Yeah.
Year we finished fourth. And it's probably one of the snidest finishes I've ever seen before, because it was like a pass and it went nowhere.
He just side foots it, doesn't he?
Yeah, and do you know what? Chris Kirkland doing all well. He was in goal. And I remember when you watch it back, he's got about like 6 players all stood in a line in front of his face. And then obviously sees it really late and then goes down. That was when we're going ballistic for that, mate. That was it was so few and far between when we've got a result at home against. I mean, when's the last time we beat them at home?
Oh God, was it when Hodgson was their manager?
The Arteta.
Yeah, Kale.
And Kale, wasn't it? We beat them 2-0. That's 2010, I'm going to say.
Yeah. It was about then, yeah.
That's really bad, that isn't it? It was 2010, and that was just after 06, 04, 2010, and then that's the last time.
Yeah, I think so.
Was it?
It feels like it.
I think it really is, mate. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we've not been beat too many times at Goodison in that time. I think they only beat us twice, maybe 3 times. But yeah, that was the last win.
All over the place, just draw until
the last one should have been a win. Well, sorry, the last one. Was it the last one?
Origi.
No, the one where Conor Cody scored and it was offside.
Oh yeah.
Neil Mopey should have buried his chance, the little fucker. He top corners that for Brentford.
Yeah,
Telling
that
you.
was shocking. That was shocking. But what was the one where was when Sturridge, the little rat, scored in the last minute header? I think it was when we were 3-2 up when Lukaku scored two.
Yeah,
And I thought we battered them. We battered
yeah.
them all game long.
Taylor Faye should have scored in that one as well.
But oh, sorry.
Taylor Faye got a 1-on-1, didn't he?
Yeah, he did, yeah. But I remember like what Sturridge, I'd say about 5'10", nowhere near 6 foot. And he wins it header, flicks it past, and it's 3-3. I'm like, what has happened here?
Yeah.
I think we were 2-0 down in that, weren't we, as well?
I think so. Yeah, we went to 3-2.
Osman scored to get a 2-1, and then Lukaku sort of stole the show. But yeah, I don't know what's got us on the list of just talking about derbies where we like, yeah, that one in 2010.
We were just talking about incredible moments, weren't we? We'll move on. I was
Yeah.
hoping Pete might be able to join us, but I'm not sure. He might not be able to jump on. We'll ask for his incredible moments if he can, but we'll move on now to somewhere where we've not had too many incredible moments. In fact, probably had 2 or 3 in the last 30 years. We'll look ahead to the game at Old Trafford. So we've got United at 12:30, the early kick-off on Saturday. I say we've had 2 or 3 good moments there because we've had 2 wins, and in the last 30 years.
Is that it? Is that how bad it is?
Yeah. So in the Premier League era, we've had 2 wins. Oviedo and when Bashika and Beasley scored in the first Premier League season. I'd say we've had one more incredible moment there, which was the 4-4. But apart from that,
Who scored in that?
Jelavic scored that header, didn't he? I think Pinar scored the final equaliser, did he? Or Fellaini?
Fellaini scored that volley.
Yeah.
I don't know the last one.
Got 2. Pinar scored the final equaliser, yeah. The last
right,
one.
Yeah. That's I mean the Oviedo one. I mean, you know, with that feeling of games. I was in Las Vegas, and it was the same week we had that, we won that, and then 3 or 4 days later we had Arsenal away when De La Feu scored that peach.
Yeah.
Where we drew 1-1 there, and we probably should have won that game as well. But when he, I remember going nuts, and obviously over in the States there were loads of English, loads of Man United fans. I was watching it, one of them sports books they have in the big hotel, in the big casinos. I remember when Oviedo scored, I started going ballistic, and there was like a cowboy like event on there. So there were loads of cowboys and all that, and sitting with the hats on and everything. And I started going ballistic when Oviedo scores that goal. Got all these fellas like just looking at me, thinking, what's he playing at? Like, what's going on there? And I thought, do these think like I really love horses or something like that, or do you think like I hate them or something? They were looking at me really weirdly, and it was only like me, and there was some man sitting next to me watching it, and he was absolutely gutted. Just picked his pint up and walked off, and I was just sitting there, Haley sitting by me saying, "Calm down right now." And then I thought, you know what? I'm probably in one of the safest places I could do this because no one has a fucking clue what I'm celebrating. Do you know what I mean? But that goal he scored, the funniest thing about it was Lukaku trying the most ridiculous overhead you've ever seen.
I don't remember that.
You know, remember when he scores the goal? It's ridiculous. He tries an overhead, completely scuffs it, and it ends up going out wide, and it's a lovely finish as well from Oviedo.
And then it gets knocked across the box.
Yeah, and what a player he was. I said what a player he was. A player that could have been, if you get what I mean, because he suffered horrendous injuries. But he seemed to absolutely adore us as well. Like, I think the lad could have gone on to do a lot more with us, really.
Yeah. Pete's just joined us. He joined us just as Dave was talking about Cowboys, so God knows what he thought we were talking about there. Yeah, so Pete, just before we're just about to launch into talking about the United game at the weekend, which I'm sure we're looking forward to. But before that, we were talking about so you know that thing the club sent out about incredible moments at Goodison. And there was a bit of kicking off about them including the Palace game and that. I think me and Dave between us kind of agreed, well, it was an incredible moment when that third one in. It was. Maybe nothing to be dead proud about as a club, but an incredible moment. What's Dave just done to his filter there?
I've decided to come in as a cow.
For anyone listening on a podcast and not watching on YouTube, Dave's just changed his filter to a cow, which is quite good, actually.
A couch?
He's a cow, so he's literally a cowboy now. So yeah, Pete, any incredible moments you can think of off the top of your head?
Incredible moments. Well, do you know what? It's hard to actually. Let's be honest. It's hard to come out with too many incredible moments, which actually ended up with anything really positive. Obviously, you talk about the Palace game and staying up, and you don't want to be in that position in the first place. But having said that, in terms of pure emotion, it was up there, wasn't it?
Yeah.
If you want to talk about Man United, obviously, so we're playing them this weekend. I remember the game against United when Duncan Ferguson scored, the one where we finished in the top four, when Neville and Scholes both got sent off for United. That was up there because that was just, I feel like that was the one that really pushed us. The atmosphere that night was incredible as well.
Yeah.
It was a proper, unbelievable Goodison atmosphere, and Duncan Ferguson got the winner.
It was horrible, wasn't it?
Oh, it was amazing. It was like all four corners of the ground were just bouncing. And it's not very often you get that either, where it wasn't just like the Goodison and the Park End, it was the main stand were at their own chance. The Bullens was going mad. And then the only one comparable to that one in terms of atmosphere that I've been in, obviously I'm a bit too young. I wasn't born for the Munich game, but it was Fiorentina. But unfortunately, the Fiorentina game, we lost. We ended up losing on pens, so you can't really. I don't know how much you can really celebrate that one, but the moment where Mikel Arteta scored to go 2-2 on aggregate was just incredible. Again, it was that and the United game in terms of atmosphere, and then obviously you've got the Palace game and the Bournemouth game. Those atmospheres were something special. But I think over in 90 minutes, the United 1-0 and the Fiorentina one, up until the point we lost on pens, were my two favourites.
Yeah, no, they are two amazing shouts. But it's typical, isn't it, with Everton? It's just like, it's always caveated by something crap happening.
Yeah.
So it was just like, I mean, I guess apart from the Duncan Ferguson one there, actually, because did that like mathematically seal our Champions League? Or technically?
No,
that was all there.
It was the Newcastle game. It was the Newcastle game that ended up that was mathematical. I think Kale scored to seal it. Yeah. And that was the one that
we've done this year.
That was the one that sealed it, and then we went to Arsenal and got battered like 7-0 3 days later because they were all still out on the piss.
Yeah, that was horrendous. That actually was embarrassing. You just got in the Champions League. Well, let's go and lose 8-1 or 7-1, whatever it was.
Do you know what? Like Les has just said, though, anything we do that's ever positive is always quickly followed by something really horrendous, isn't it?
Oh, Les, we were talking about Man United just because we got the game of the weekend.
Yeah.
I remember as well, the one we should have won was when Jordi Cruyff scored 2.
Oh.
He's obviously the Legends kid, and we drew 2 all there. Big dunk, ripped them apart. Scored the cracker. His second goal was an absolute peach when he scores on the half volley by just spinning round. I don't think we went 2-0 up. We went 1-0 up and 2-1 up. And then Jordi Cruyff scores in the last. Jordi Cruyff, how shit he was at Man United as well. We drew 2 all there, and obviously I think it was 96. Might have been the actual season where we finished 6th, the second year of
Royal.
Big Joe, yeah. And there's one you should have won there, going away to Man United. And then the other one I was thinking of was, and sadly they are draws, where McFadden scored in the last minute as well, and we got a 1-1 draw there.
Oh yeah.
The second time he played for us, that was all a bit mad, wasn't it? He came back for like 10 games.
Yeah, that was 05, was it? 06?
No, a little bit later, I think.
Was it?
Yeah, I don't know. You might be right, actually. And Goodison came back for 8 games as well and scored a penalty for. Well, I don't know what it was, and it was like, was it a UEFA game? He definitely scored a pen for us in a penalty shootout for something.
I remember he got an assist on his debut against Bolton. I remember that he got because he went over to take the corner and was giving it loads to the as he did, and I'm sure he set up a goal from the corner. I was going to say United games going to Old Trafford. Got to shout out that 4-4 when we cost them the league.
Yeah, I said so we've had 2 wins in the Premier League there. That's it.
Right.
But we probably had 3 good moments maybe because that was incredible, wasn't it?
Yeah. There was the one with James Rodriguez as well, wasn't there? Where was that during lockdown?
Yeah, if it was Rodriguez, it was during lockdown. What was
during lockdown? Was it like 3-3 or something?
Was it? Yeah.
When Calvert
Lewin scored basically the last kick of the game.
Yeah.
Oh god, yeah, that was incredible. That.
I can't even remember that. It's just a blame those COVID games, you know.
Do you know what? COVID, everyone had some good times.
Yeah.
and we weren't there to see any of them.
Yeah, no, Richarlison's goal when we scored after a minute, that'll be one of my finest. Sadly, really sadly, and I know a load of Reds listen to us, but that goal from Richarlison at Anfield, that was such a stunning goal. The ball from James Rodriguez through to him was incredible. I think Decore just heads it forward, he takes it down on the half volley and plays the most beautifully weighted pass you've ever seen. And Richarlison, one touch, it goes in.
It's the way he kills the knockdown.
I remember going crazy about it. And then the sad thing is, you look and there's just seats all over the place. And you're like, and Sky just put in like fake noises of celebration and all that. and I thought, you know what? I'm going to enjoy this. I'm going to proper enjoy this, even though it's like not even a legit Premier League game.
But you got to say though, up there with that goal and everything was definitely seeing Van Dijk on his deathbed. Wheeled out.
Getting wheeled out.
Wheeled out for the revenge.
He kept going soon, didn't he? He kept like pure zooming in on him.
Face like boiled shite.
Yeah, it was. Do you know just the same game he got injured, obviously, by Pickford. Thiago got snapped as well, I think, by Richarlison when it was a good.
Yeah.
And I think he made his only return a couple of weeks back. And like I'd seen loads of Reds saying, bit of justice now that he's come back after fucking, 3 years ago, or whatever it was. And when he had that done by Richarlison and all that, and then he's basically played 30 minutes or something like that, and he's injured again. So that was a nice little touch, that wasn't it? That Van Dijk thing's class, though. That you've got to find that picture. That's going to be it on our Twitter for saying everything about that.
Yeah, that's funny. It was they had the whole like narrative lined up there, didn't they?
Yeah.
The event, and in that game, Pickford pulled off an absolutely blinding save from Henderson's volley. Yeah, unreal. And anyway, lads, don't want to bring the conversation down any, but that would have been a nice little segue into the final bit, which is going to be on great saves. But we'll save that and talk a little bit more about Man United at the weekend. Yeah, going to be a hard game, this, isn't it? United seem like one of those teams who just don't appear to be very good, but just kind of keep winning. I know he didn't win against City.
Yeah.
And, in any case, you could probably put the worst United side in the world out. We're not very good at Old Trafford. That's just a fact. So, going to be a tough game at the weekend. What are we thinking in terms of how Dice should approach it? Probably just the same as he approaches every other game, really, I guess.
The thing, this will surprise many people. I think we'll go there and get a result. Might not score, but I think we'll stop them from scoring because it's one of the worst United sides I've seen for a long time. This might be the kiss of death now, what I'm saying, but watching them to go 1-0 up there in that game against Man City, you see just a worldie scored like that. They're obviously not fluky, but when that happens in the context of a game, you're like, we didn't expect this to happen. They probably didn't expect this to happen, but it did. But then they just crumbled towards the end of it. I look at the way they play. I look at who they've got. And I look at us, obviously. And I think there's a result in there for us. I really do. I think you're going somewhere that is, they're going to be quickly not really up for the game. If they win half an hour, they got to half time and it's 0-0. Their fans aren't really going to be bouncing around saying, let's come on, United and all that. I don't think they're like that these days. And they haven't been for quite some time, to be honest with you. Certainly haven't won the league for a long, long time either. It's hard to keep in mind that because of the size of it, the size that they are, everything, all the history stuff that you go along with, how many times they've won titles and all that sort of thing. You go to Old Trafford and take that away from your mind of thinking of it. United away is not the game it ever used to be. Going there is not what it used to be. You've seen sides go and get stuff there. You've seen people scoring goals down there. That's obviously going to be the issue for us, is actually scoring a goal there. But I reckon you can keep them out. You can keep them out there. And I think that's what Dice is going to approach. I really hope he doesn't go for 5 at the back. I could see him doing it, though, to be honest with you. What they've got on the side, you think of Garnacho, who scored that goal against us at Goodison. You're going to look at him straight away. You're going to look at that Anthony. I think, shit, he probably gets on at some point. That's where they've got a lot to come at. Yeah, it's those sides of the pitch. I put Coleman back in as well. I think Godfrey's done all right in the last 3 games. But I think if you're looking to get a result there, you put Seamus Coleman in, not just for the reason that he's a right back, but also the reason of what he can do in terms of some sort of leadership. Because I think that's what we've been lacking quite a bit lately. And I know that's not a slight against Tarkowski. I just feel as if that you've got somebody sitting on the bench there who does it better than the lads we haven't had that long. It's just the second season with us, isn't it? With Tarkowski, you've got a lad there who will just know everything to do over there. And I think if we go there with that sort of mentality, you're much more likely to do that than if you've got a Godfrey on there who, let's face it, he's hot-headed. He's a hot-headed right back, as good as he is, as powerful as he is. You don't need a player there, I think, who's going to try and bomb it forward when they can. You need something a little bit more sensible. So I'll be looking at doing that. And then, yeah, I mean, the midfield thing is what a lot of people have had real fuss with, haven't they? Nana and what's gone on there and what hasn't gone on there, I suppose. And then just Beto, bless him, just go in there and just let him have a laugh. Whatever it is you do with that lad. But yeah, I mean, I'm not joking there. I think we'll get something there. Definitely get something there. My opinion.
Yeah, I think as Dave picked up on them, Pete, the midfield. It's been a cause of some consternation for everyone, really, hasn't it? I think the issue for me at the weekend was, once again, there was quite a few 50-50 tackles they weren't winning. They'll go in for a 50-50, they'll come out without the ball. I'd say 10 times out of 10 it appears. So there doesn't seem to be that bite in there, especially with Garner Gay in there. Do you reckon we need to try and start playing it through the midfield more, Pete, or just keep doing what we're doing and just hitting it out wide, trying to get the ball across into the box? It seems quite predictable, but it's worked at times this season.
Yeah, I mean, it's a difficult game to try and change how you're going to play, isn't it? Going to Old Trafford. I think we will just set up exactly how we have been set up. But yeah, I do agree that going forward we do need to stop bypassing the midfield so much. I agree. I agree in a sense that I don't like that whole tippy tappy, pass the ball across the back 100 times and get nowhere kind of football. Hate it, despise it. But I do want the ball in the box earlier, but at the same time, I want our midfielders to be dictating play, not our goalkeeper. So it is one of those things, and I think even with the Brighton result, if we kept possession, we win that game. We only had to keep, to literally hold on for a few more minutes, and we couldn't keep hold of the ball. And I think that a massive part of that is the fact that we need our midfielders to step up and start demanding the ball more. And keeping hold of possession. But I mean, one thing as well I would say is that in terms of how we are trying to play, we do get the ball out wide, but we hardly actually cross the ball into the box with any real purpose or any real quality. So I think that's something that we need to improve, especially if we're playing this style of football. It's so important that we get good deliveries coming into the box, and especially when you've got either Dominic Calvert-Lewin or Beto up front. You can see even with Beto, the other day he was obviously unlucky with his penalty. I think it was a poor penalty myself, but there's arguments to be said about that. But having said that, he gets a great ball into the box from James Garner, whips it in, right on the money. Great header from Beto, and we score. And I just think they're the types of crosses that we need to be having. I think when we've got Jack Harrison on the right-hand side cutting in on his left, I don't think that the quality of cross is there. I also think that inverted wingers don't necessarily produce the most dangerous of crosses into the box anyway, because of just the angle that they're coming into the box. I think they're easier to defend. I think Dwight McNeil's looked a bit out of sorts as well. I think
that must pain you to say that, mate.
Oh, it hurts. It hurts, Les. It proper hurts. But he's I feel like he's one of the players who I'm looking at thinking that there's an international break coming up. I think he's probably one that probably needs that break. And a bit of a recharge of the batteries. But yeah, it's going to be a tough game. United at Old Trafford is always going to be a tough game. But I fully agree with Dave. I think they're beatable. I really do. And another great point that Dave makes is their supporters, because I think their supporters are right on the edge now in terms of full on fume. You know, we've seen them in the past turn on the owners. They obviously don't like the Glazers. This new fella's come in, Jim Radcliffe, and he seems to be saying all kinds of nonsense, like he wants the government to pay for a new stadium and all that sort of thing. So I think that they're on tenterhooks anyway, because when you've got a new owner coming in, supposedly meant to be a multi-billionaire, who's then saying he wants handouts from the government to build a stadium when your stadium's falling down, you kind of think,
he said he wanted City them to be better than City within 3 years. That's not going to happen, is it?
Yeah,
exactly.
The
weird thing to do is come in here and say that. And do you know what? For all this, and I might get slated, but Moshiri didn't actually do all that. And when Moshiri came in, and the saying that I'll always stick in my head when he says, we don't want to be a museum. Now, that's obviously by the by, but just comparing them to somebody who's come in and said, 3 years, we'll be battering them over the roads. That's ridiculous to say that, given what they are in the Premier League now. Do you know what I mean? But sorry to interrupt.
I think the one result away from the green and gold scarves coming out again, aren't they?
Yeah, definitely, 100%. And I think as well with United, one thing that you've never really seen them turn on a manager like big time. I don't think that it's really happened, even because Solskjaer obviously had the history with them. Louis van Gaal, he won the FA Cup in his last game, didn't he? He wasn't really necessarily getting booed out. I think Moyes was probably the one that they turned on the most. I feel like we're at that stage now with Ten Hag. I think he's lost that many games. United will have a full generation of fans who are just used to seeing him win everything, and a lot of glory hunters in that crowd as well, who will just expect them to win everything. And it's a completely different thing when you're not winning, when you're not up there and you're not competing, and when your neighbours are doing so well. So I think United are 1 or 2 results away from full on mutiny myself. So if we can harness that, keep it tight, frustrate the life out of them, get the fans on the backs, every chance.
The 19 points off the top, and the 5 points ahead of Brighton in 9th. So they're right on the edge there of sort of just having a really, really disappointing season that fizzles out into nothing. Because even for them, Europa League qualification, which isn't guaranteed in 6th, isn't good enough, is it? Just on Everton, then I think you make a really interesting point about the wingers, Pete. And it's something I've been thinking again. It came into sharp focus, I think, in the last game. Jack Harrison's so left-footed. He's only got one option as a right winger, and that's to cut in. He did try a couple of crosses, I think, for the first time all season, at the weekend with his right foot. He weren't very good. But I think the inverted wingers thing, it's something you can do. You should be able to switch in and out of in game. So it still helps to have a right-footed winger and a left-footed winger on the pitch. So you can swap them, do something different, cut inside. If that's not working, swap them outside, get the byline, get the crosses in. Which strikers like Beto and Calvert-Lewin would thrive off? If you're getting 6, 7, 8 crosses in from the byline between the 2 wingers, they're going to be getting a lot of chances in there. And I think that's something that the manager definitely needs to look at, and he doesn't seem to be addressing it. And if you've got 2 left-footed wingers on the pitch at the same time, it does make the attack quite lopsided, because you've got one who can cut to the byline and one that can't, and they never swap. So you never really see Dwight McNeil going over to the right anymore, Jack Harrison going over to the left. I can't. I'm probably wrong, but I can't think of a time when they've done that. In previous seasons when we've done it, the wingers have done that freely. They've just swapped and and give the fullback something different to think about. So aside from, as you say, the midfield actually playing a forward pass to cut the defence open, which I don't think they can, I think that's probably our best chance, but it needs to be mixed up. What do you reckon, Dave?
Yeah, it's just puts all the faith onto the core again, really, doesn't it? Because if they're playing a ball through there, you're not going to want to. The only thing you can do really is give it to him or Beto with his back to goal. Probably the one thing you get from him is physically he's all right at that. But then where else do you go? And like you said there about those players on the wings, that's a massive issue we have in terms of trying to create chances, let alone from actually scoring the goals. I do think what you've mentioned there, what both of you hinted at, there's a lot on Dice for that. I have a big issue with him not sort of coming up with something different here.
Yeah,
I've gone in hard on him in the last few weeks, to say the very least, and that's near the top of my list. Is sort of any sort of difference that he's trying to make in these games, particularly the ones at Goodison. Here, you probably look at it and think this is the one game where he doesn't do that, and he's just happy to put 10 men behind the ball and stay as long as you possibly can. Then if we have to score a goal, that's when he'll start saying to these, look, you've got to try and get the ball in the area and sort of things like that. Be interesting to see if he starts out to Beto and BCL. I could see him going with Calvert-Lewin coming back in for this, or he certainly should do anyway, I think. But yeah, he's got to come up. I mean, we're sitting here talking about just switching wingers either side for, every 5 minutes, whenever it is, whenever they feel like it, a bit of freedom to do it, shouting across to each other. Because what the very least what you're doing is confusing their fullbacks. I don't know, is Luke Shaw, is he still fit? He is fit, isn't he, if he's in there? You look, and who's the right back? Wan-Bissaka's still there. You're looking at, two quick fullbacks there, aren't you? But the only way you're going to get them out is by mixing things up against them. If you're watching that, if they've watched Everton, which Ten Hag will be watching us all week, won't he? Saying, this is Everton, saying most of what we've got is crap. But the only way you're looking at Everton scoring a goal is via those two wingers.
Yeah.
You're saying, you know what? If they go along with everything they've done all season, we've only got to stop them where they are, and it's a pretty simple 90 minutes for the fullbacks they've got. Then the go-to thing for Dice, surely, quite simply, like we've just spoken of, should be just try something different with them. Well, the thing I'd say as well is that you look at the goal we scored with Beto's shoulder goal that he scored. The ball in from James Garner was absolutely brilliant, by the way. A lot of people don't want to say that because he's sort of top of their list of enemies, isn't he? But I think it's a little bit ironic that was the way we scored the goal, was somebody actually crossing it in with the right foot.
Crossing it in early as well.
I know exactly. That's it. He was still like 30, 40 yards out, wasn't he? Just halfway line, if you like. Just do something different, Sean. Just do something different. What has he got? What has he got really to lose? And this is where I think that there's been an issue with him for his entire managerial career. This fella is. He keeps it safe for the best that he knows, and he's had a success over it. Don't get me wrong. He's kept Burnley in for, 4 out of 5 years or 4 out of 6 years when they've come up to the Premier League. He obviously kept us up for that sort of style of play last season. But that can only last so long when you're involved in a relegation fight, which we are. If you went to speak to him, I bet you the first thing he'd say to you was, go and look what I did with Burnley and kept them in the Premier League and shut your mouth. I just feel that'll only last so long, as it did with him when he got let go of at Burnley. Again, people have sort of been agreeing with me and criticising me sort of 50-50 when I've said that it's 1 win in 14, the same as when we sacked Frank Lampard last year. By all means, Les, like me and you have been criticised for saying we don't actually want him sacked. I was just saying that I thought it was an interesting statistic, but people just knee-jerk reaction. Having what we have, you've got to try something different. If you're going to a place where I think, the majority of our, not to speak for everybody, but the majority of our fans would not put the house on Everton not losing that game. And with that in mind, I'm not saying he's got a free hit, but you go there and think, right, how do I change these things? How do I mix these things up? Go and start Dobbin. Just go and start Dobbin. Put him in for McNeil. Put him in for Harrison. Whichever one, I don't care. Either side, put him in. And look, I realise you look at the bench and you think, who have we got there? But, you look at Gomez, I'd throw him in straight away. If he's 100% fit, I'd put him in midfield. He's got no pace whatsoever. But I look at McTominay that they've got. They have ribbed. I don't think Fernandez is particularly quick for them either. I think you've got somebody who'll battle for us there in midfield, and it's probably a decent position for them to, decent game for them to come back into. When you're looking at going there, thinking, do you know what, it's a real bonus if you get a point from this, regardless of how poor they've been this season. So there's a few things you can change there, and I'm fed up with the narrative of, well, we've got no one on the bench. We sort of have, and I think they've got more on the bench than we think, given how poor the ones on the pitch are. Do you know what I mean? Because you look at a few of them on the bench and you think, can it be as bad as that? Do you know what I mean? So that psychology everybody's got looking at this is something that is starting to do my head in. So just go. It's not a free shot again. Everton go 60 minutes, end up conceding a jammy goal. Look at that bench and say, kid, get on the pitch. Or the reverse of Dobbin's been on, he struggles, young lad, he struggles. Dwight or Jack, get on the pitch, lads, and let's see how we can do something. Just change things. Just fucking change things.
Well, me and Matt touched on this on Monday and just said it's like you just said then, Dave, the lads up front who were on the bench can't do any worse than the lads up front who were on the pitch. They literally can't. So you might as well just give it a go.
Yeah.
Right, well, I'm sure Matt will pick up on some of this stuff in his weekend preview. So just before we go, I want to finish on a story that's close to Dave's heart here. It's Tim Howard's birthday, and I'm sure Dave will be the first one to wish him many happy returns. The club
that's the wrong way. Please don't ever return.
The club today put out a tweet sort of saying happy birthday and showing some of his best saves, which laughably they include that one against Southampton where he nearly gets chipped in the 6-yard box. It was a great save, but you shouldn't be getting chipped in your 6-yard box, but that's another matter. There were some good saves in there. What's that?
Someone who works in marketing and advertising for one of the greatest car marketing place in the world. It's a decent bit of marketing by him, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? Like, really shouldn't chip me, but he has, and I'm going to make this look boss. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It happened twice. It happened twice in the same compilation because drummer Clint Dempsey did it as well, where he tipped it onto the bar.
God, yeah.
He was just like
Clint Dempsey.
He just stood on the edge of his 6-yard box for no reason.
And then also we had Sean Wright Phillips headed over him as well from 5'2".
Yeah, I'll jump that as well.
I'm starting to grow my feelings towards what I'm going to say to your answer here, Les.
All right. I think I just think in terms of like Tim Howard, I think for every worldly save that they show there, he threw one in. I think my favourite, I think Mike Blakey tweeted that out, like co-tweeted today. It was the one against Wolves, where the keeper just launches a goal kick down the field, bounces just on the edge of the area, strikers onto it, Tim Howard star jumps, just rolls it underneath him. He also did that against Denver Bar at Newcastle, didn't he, as well? Same thing, I think, did a star jump and got it rolled under him. But what would you say? We'll veer away from Tim Howard unless he's made one of your favourite saves at Goodison. What do you think one of the best saves you've ever seen in real life at Goodison or elsewhere? What's the best save you've ever seen? I can't go much further than Pickford against Chelsea. I think.
Yeah.
I think the best save I've ever seen was Southall at Sheffield. I wasn't there live, but the best save I've ever seen was Southall against Sheffield from Imre Varadi, where it's past him, and he arches his back and tips it around the post. It was better than the Mark Falco one the same season, but obviously didn't have as much importance towards the end of the season. But so yeah, I want to go for Pickford against Chelsea for mine. Pete, what's yours?
I was going to say Pickford against Chelsea. I think Pickford, for all this weird sort of obsession that the British media have against him, I think Pickford could probably come up with his own compilation of great saves, probably in the Premier League era. He's
probably
because I just think he's some of the saves he's pulled off have been absolutely outstanding. But yeah, that Chelsea, the double save, wasn't it? The Chelsea one was that? There was, but in that match, I think he made about 3 or 4 separate contenders for save of the season. And I just think that Jordan Pickford has just been outstanding in terms of keeping us in the Premier League, to be honest with you. I think without Jordan Pickford over the last 2 years, I think we would have gone down. And then in terms of importance as well, you've got Pickford's penalty save against Leicester last season, which kept it at 2-0 going into half time, and we obviously ended up getting the draw. And that was again probably what kept us up, because if Leicester would have won that game, we would have gone down. But Pickford stayed true to form. He looked at his water bottle and it told him where Maddison was going to go, and he saved it. So I think Pickford's up there. Only other ones off the top of my head would be Southall in the 95 Cup final as well, because I remember watching the 95 Cup final and Neville Southall, even though he was getting on by that point. He pulled off some incredible saves. I think Paul Scholes, he pulled off a couple against Scholes, which were just absolutely outstanding. So so Pickford and Neville Southall.
How do we get over to Liverpool last season? What was the derby at Goodison last season?
With 0-0, wasn't it?
Right. That's why I'm going to pick this one, because I was pretty unsure of whether we lost this game or not. But, again, it sort of cocked them up quite a bit, given that they went on and finished in the Europa League. We drew that game, and it's similar to the one that I'd include both of these in the derby, because the one that we all say that cost them the league was that 0-0 draw, and he made some belters against Salah, who got through in terms of a save. Darwin Núñez for them hits a whopper of a shot, and he tipped it onto the crossbar. And I'm looking at him and thinking, I was buzzing for it, because obviously they have the stupid T-Rex joke and that, and it was pretty, it's ironic that he does that when he's considered being such a small lad. He gets his hand to it and tips it onto the bar. I like to watch that. He feels like an underdog to me, Pickford. He's fucking nuts, but he does those things where you don't expect him to do. And like you've just referred to there, that Chelsea game you're on about, what I've referred to there, when you've got Mo Salah running through one-on-one, he stops it from happening. That what I've just referred to there, one that looks like it's going in the top corner, he tips it onto the crossbar. I think many of us, we'd be lying if we said you go back 3 or 4 seasons and we'd be sat here pretty much criticising him. But his mentality at times used to piss us off. I think he's really matured, or he's been late in maturing for the way he is now, and that's why he probably, like you mentioned there, Pete. I think he's saved us in the Premier League so many times that if he wasn't the world class goalkeeper that he is, Everton would be in the Championship by now. So that there's massive credit to him. But also just going back to Tim Howard, because I know we're going to finish right now. One of the worst was when Drogba, they beat us, this on my birthday, they beat us 3-2, and we were 2-1 up, and Frank Lampard scores a peach, rips his foot into it. It was one of them things when Lampard hit the ball, he could get it spinning in all sorts of different directions, puts it in the top corner, 2-2, and then Drogba scores he's 30 yards out, strikes it really well, right? But it's when you see the replay, I think Ian Dark was commentating on it, he goes, oh, look at that. But when they show you the replay, he hits it direct down the middle. He's in the middle of the pitch, 30 yards out. Hits it directly down the middle. I'm saying how direct it was. It probably went over the penalty spot. It was that straight. And Tim is around about the penalty spot. And all he does, I'm not joking, all he does is just put one arm in the air. And I'm convinced to this day he could catch that. It goes in well under the crossbar. And all he had to do was jump up twice. In comparison to what I'd hit this man, for the fact that goal Lampard scored in that FA Cup final was one of the worst piece of goalkeeping I have ever seen in my entire life. I know we got beat by Matt Taylor down at Pompey when he scores from 40 yards out, and the lad's just standing there, doesn't know what to do. That one I've just referred to there, though, that in the final, that we were done then. You know what I mean? That happens there. Lampard, Drogba scored a great equaliser for them, but then when that goes in, it was over. And again, something else, he would get both of his hands too. I know for the fact people listen to this will be saying, well, he's played, I think he's 15th on the list of how many appearances he's made for us, and he's been a great servant and all that. And we'll have loads of USA listening to this. Rob Vera might actually kick off at me for saying all this about him. That game against Portugal in the 2014 World Cup, where what was he that they called him?
Defense.
Listen, let's stop it now, Tim. And now he's a top class pundit over there, isn't he? Just don't know how these things happen, to be honest with you, mate. But yeah, he's. I don't know how he's been rated or referred to as a top class ever. I'd rather have Richard Wright. I'd have Richard Wright, Steve Simo, Keaton, Myra, who was also all right, Rob Les,
Nigel Martin, obviously.
Who, sorry?
Nigel Martin, he's up there.
No, yeah, I mean, Nigel Martin, mate, he's untouchable if you're thinking. I think they went one after each other, didn't he, Martin, and then Tim Howard. And I suppose the thing to start all that off was when Big Dunk scored that goal past Tim Howard that we were referring to when we finished fourth. That big Tim Howard was in goal for that, which is probably says Everton. It's probably the Everton way to go and sign him after he's just got us in the top four.
But yeah, he got booked, didn't he, for like throwing him on the floor or something?
Did he? Did he get booked for that?
Yeah, and then when he scored the winner, Ferguson, he went to take his shirt off and stop himself because he remembered he'd been booked.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, and then he runs along the family enclosure, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Did we sign him on loan?
Yeah.
For a year alone. Yeah.
When he signed for us, did he still not play the first game against United?
Yeah.
It was a gentleman's agreement, wasn't it?
Gentleman's agreement, yeah. Yeah.
This frigging club, honestly.
Him getting Obama to sort it out for him.
He did. He got a phone call off Obama, didn't he? That just says everything, doesn't it? The fact that we signed a player and still didn't play him against his former club.
Yeah.
Toffees. Right, we'll leave it at that bombshell. We'll leave it there. Thanks, Pete.
Happy birthday.
Thanks, Dave. Happy birthday to Tim Howard as well. Thanks to everyone listening. We'll be back with Mailbag on Friday. Might have a weekend preview. Then we'll have post-match. And then we'll have a few weeks off. We won't, but everyone else will from Everton. But we'll be doing stuff. So, keep on listening. Up to Toffees.